Welcome back, everyone. Today is Thursday, December 3rd, 2009. I'm Mark Leffler with co-host Guy Chapman, and this is the Green Tea Hour, sponsored by Taboa Energy Resources. Visit and bookmark Taboa Energy Resources website at www.toboaenergy.com. But anyway, we have our guest with us.
But there's a caller on the phone here before him.
Yeah, there's a caller in there now, but I don't know who that is. But let's get Bob on the line first. Hi, Bob. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Nice to be back.
Oh, welcome back. We missed you. So how's everything going, Bob? Is the economy still in shambles here?
Well, it's not really in good shape. We have a stimulus plan that's got about, well, you hear different versions, but the White House says they have about 3/8 of the money left to spend. So 3/8 of 8 would be probably about $300 billion, and that probably will be exhausted, and for the most part by June, July. And the economy, unfortunately, you can't trust the government figures, so we really don't know what the economy's doing for sure. They're talking about 2.5% plus GDP growth, and I don't believe that. The first figure was 3.8 for the last quarter. I think the growth is probably between 0 and 1%. It could be 1.5%, but they always got to fudge the figures. And unemployment is still increasing, but certainly not at the rate that it was. But no jobs are being created. And so that's a real problem. And the only thing that's kept things going is rebuilding of inventory and some spending by business for research and development and things like that. And so I think they desperately need another stimulus package, and they need at least $800 billion to take them through the next year. And I don't know that Congress is going to give them that. At the same time, the Fed is telling my people that we got to pull $1.5 trillion out of the economy, and that's why they're asking for the TARP money back. And Bank of America says they're doing great. Of course, they're bankrupt. They got two sets of books like every other company, and so they might get altogether maybe $500 billion back, but they still got $1 trillion to go. And if they take it out of the repo pool, interest rates are going to rise. The interest rates are being manipulated and they're being suppressed by the Federal Reserve. So I don't think the Fed should pull the money out if they don't want a deflationary depression. I mean, you can't fine-tune an economy to that level. It's not humanly possible unless you're just plain lucky.
Yeah.
And that's why they always overspend, overlend, overmonetize. They do that because they don't know whether they've done enough or too much. And that's okay. The problem is they never solved the problem in the first place. The problem is there's nothing that should be too big to fail. Every company that's bankrupt, no matter who they are, should be allowed to be liquidated. The federal government should not be bailing out the banks selectively, Wall Street, insurance, Chrysler, General Motors. It is not their province to do that. It's illegal. They do it anyway. They don't care. As far as they're concerned, there are no laws. There is no Constitution. They do what they want, just like the last two administrations did. And so they got to come up with money. They can't cut back. If they do, we're going to slide directly into a depression. And they know that. And so I think they'll back off on pulling money out of the economy. I think Congress will approve early next year probably $400 or $500 billion, maybe more, but probably $400 or $500 billion. That'll barely make it through the next year for them.
Okay.
And so that's where I think the economy's going. We're going to continue to have higher commodity and gold and silver prices. The reason being is that I don't think sophisticated professional investors believe that they're going to see inflation soon. Inflation, and they know this, is 7 8% right now, not the 1.2% the government talks about. Because I'm not the only smart one in the world who knows that. There's a lot of other pros who know that. The real reason that gold and silver and commodities are rising is because investors do not trust, nor do they have any confidence in the 20 major central banks, and even more so in the G8, as it used to be called. And so that's why gold and silver commodities are going up, plus the fact you have countries buying gold now that didn't for the last 20 years or so, and well, actually 28 years for that matter. And it kind of puts a stopper below it. And then you've got these enormous short positions in gold and silver. In silver, you've got two firms that are controlling 82% of the net shorts. You know, they're betting it's going to go down. And that's what's keeping silver from moving. And, of course, they're acting in the behalf of the U.S. government, and that's J.P. Morgan Chase and Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. And then, on the other hand, you've got four majors, same players, along with Goldman and Citigroup, who are doing the gold market. The shorts in the gold market are 306,000 net. Now, it's normal for them to be short 95,000. Now, that means the American taxpayer has put up billions of dollars in that COMEX market to suppress the price of gold. And they're going to lose on every trade. And the taxpayer has to pay for it. But it's going to break out. They have to cover. And covering is short. Short means you bet to go down. They're betting gold will go down by keeping it from going up. But the other side of that trade is they've got to buy it back sometime. And when they do, the price will go up again.
Okay. Bob, today, President Barack Obama promised, this is an excerpt from a news article, he promised at a White House jobs forum, and this is going to kind of come into it, but every responsible step to accelerate job creation, including some ideas he said could put into action quickly. He cited an expanded program to help make more U.S. homes energy efficient as an example. He also mentioned trade, and this is where I want to ask the question. He also mentioned trade measures and possible new tax incentives among ways to stop the job losses. Is he talking about tariffs directly when he's talking about trade measures?
No, there may be a few, but not generally speaking. The Chinese will go crazy. And, it's bad enough they're sitting with about $1.4 trillion in dollar balances alone in the form of usually U.S. Treasuries for the most part. And, that's cutting their market off. They get 30 million unemployed. And what do we got, 20 million or something like that? We get 10 million underemployed. And so, what do they do? First of all, they got to purge the system. And when they do that, the whole world will be purged. And that means everybody's going to be allowed to go bankrupt that's going to. And then the second thing that they do is get rid of the Federal Reserve and or at least the people who run it, and have it run by government transparently, so everybody knows what's going on, and so that they can't cheat the American public like they have been for years. And then they have to pick everything up from the ashes. And I believe the best way to handle that is a national speech. And that would entail, look, this is what the problems are. It's awful. And we're going to fix it. But we got to purge the system, and there's going to be 40, 50% unemployment. And there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. The only way around doing that is to have another war.